We are, surely, the rightful receivers of Christian symbolism, but somehow we have wasted this heritage. We have let the house our fathers built fall into decay, and now we try to break into Oriental palaces that our fathers never knew. Anyone who has lost historical symbols and cannot be satisfied with substitutes is certainly in a very difficult position. Before him, there sides the void, and he turns away from it in horror. What is worse, the vacuum gets filled with absurd political and social ideas which one and all are distinguished by their spiritual blackness. Hello and welcome to our podcast. I'm thrilled and honored to have you join us as we embark on this journey together. As Jung states in his book, Archetype of Collective Unconscious, just quoted a few moments ago, our very tradition is not yet assimilated under a symbolic form. It seems that even before Jung times, we had lost the possibility of Neumanic experience within our own tradition. In this path, Edward Edinger says in his book called The Sacred Psyche that the Judeo-Christian tradition holds a great archetypal treasure that is up to the symbolic study to explore. He proposes that akin what happened to alchemy, this great archetypal treasure is waiting to be explored. I think that perhaps the resistance to its assimilation can be attributed in part to the rigid institutional thinking and religious discourse that can often offend us and obliterate our understanding. Fortunately, the symbolic approach allows us to escape from dogmatism and to walk in a direction that ties what we read to a reality that is within our souls. And if I may add one additional difficulty to penetrate this archetypal and symbolic reality, is that a good approach to find the treasure that lies in this tradition is related to the symbolic richness entangled within the Hebrew language. Nowadays, fortunately, we have the privilege of assessing this language through works related to the movement of so-called Kabbalah. We can also indicate the Daniel Smith recent English translation of the Book of Zohar, and especially the possibility to find teachers like Edinger, who is my personal teacher, and from being exposed to the classes and the books, we can develop a symbolic sensibility that allow us to approach the text like we approach to the interpretation of dreams and so on. And accessing this realm, libido is released, just as Edward Edinger speaks in his books, where he states that he dig it up out of the Old Testament word books and things like that, and refers that this is not that dusty work, because living meaning emerged from following up these trails. And Edward Edinger words, I can tell, it's alive by the effect it has on me. Libido is released. From this observation, we can state that the translation of the Bible into another language often strips away the symbolic essence and leaves us with a literal veil that obscures the true depths that are waiting to be explored. Isaac Luria, that is the most esteemed Kabbalist from 1500, once remarked that the literal interpretation of biblical stories was meant solely for the collective and the simple-minded. Luria, in his speech, teaches about what he calls as the hidden light, a concept in modern terms that could be related to the numinous or the symbolic. And to unveil this hidden light, Luria advocates for practices such as Gematria, Temurah, and Notoricon, which allow us to peer beyond the superficial words and glimpse the profound truths they concealed, entering the garden of what he calls the delicious. Well, I understand that these ideas may seem complex, and indeed, I know they can be really complex. However, by merging the key principles of the Jungian tradition with this ancient tradition, we can approach this treasured truth and apply its wisdom to our everyday lives. You know that Jung himself entered in this realm in his time. He had a lot of contact with rabbis and with people that was studying this subject. And it was not for granted that Jung said once that the Hasidic Rabbi Baer from Meseritz, whom they called the Great Maggid, was the person who, quote, anticipated my entire psychology in the 18th century. These are the Jung's own words, and I hope that we can find why he said that. And I think that this is my purpose here, to share the research that I've been made from years of study of the hidden tradition and the ongoing process of formation on the Jungian Institute of Barcelona. So my dear friends, once again, armed with the teachings of Jung and the framework of the Jungian thought, as von Franz, Edinger, Erich Neumann and many others, we aim to intertwine these insights with the profound wisdom of Jewish and Christian tradition. I hope that together we could explore how these ancient texts can illuminate our daily lives, enriching our existence with a depth and resonance that transcends the ordinary. So,